Senator McCain.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. Do you believe that the President's executive orders on immigration are constitutional?
Yes, I do. Yes,
you
sir.
do. You do. You said the numbers of these apprehensions are down, and that's good news. Down from 19,000 to 9,000. If these numbers are accurate, that's really good news.
The numbers are down from 14 as well as 13. If you're focused on the overall numbers, those numbers are lower than they have been in a couple of years, but I'm not suggesting
They have
to
been
you
in a
that
couple
this
of years.
constitutes victory.
2013, there were 7,000 according to this. So it's just a little lower than last year, or somewhat lower than last year, and higher than any other year. Look, we're not going to argue, but the fact is you're being disingenuous when you say that the things are really a lot better. 9,800 is not satisfactory to anybody in my state. How many, do you know the percentage of the number of young people who have met their court dates for appearances once they have showed up on our border? Do you know the percentage that have showed up for the dates they're supposed to?
If you're referring to unaccompanied children, I
Yes.
don't know the number offhand, sir.
You know, I wonder why you don't. I wonder why you wouldn't know that number. I think the American people in this committee need to know that, because you and I know that the percentage is very small, somewhere around 10 or 20%. So the intent of the law was that children were supposed to be able to come to our border in order to get a fair and unbiased judgment about their need for asylum in the United States. So the law is being perverted. When you only have 10 to 15 or 20% of the children who show up on our border who show up for their court date, then the law is not being implemented, because the intent was to give them the benefit of the judicial system here in the United States, and when they're not showing up for it. So obviously the law is not being implemented in the way that it was intended. Are you aware of the percentage of the young women who are brought by these coyotes, and all of them now are brought by coyotes for thousands of dollars? I don't think anyone would disagree with that. You know the percentage of young women allegedly who are raped on the way?
I have not seen a percentage of those who have
You've
been
heard that
sexually
there's a
assaulted.
sizable number.
I know it's a sizable number because I've
So
spoken
doesn't
to a
that
number of them.
concern you, that a sizable number of young women are raped on their way up to this
Of course it
country?
does, Senator. Of
Then-
course it does.
Then why do you
I've
support?
spoken
Well,
to-
then why do you support legislation that and a policy that encourages such a thing? Then, if you don't like it,
Well, Senator, I think that I support and encourage and am working toward a policy that discourages illegal migration from Central America, particularly among women and children.
certainly it doesn't discourage illegal migration if we have a law that says if they show up on our border that they can stay here, and only 10 to 20% of them are meeting their court dates.
Senator, I have been in enough processing centers to talk to pregnant 15-year-olds to be utterly disturbed and upset about that.
Then you
do
would
not
think,
mistake. Please
if
do
you
not
were utterly upset and
misunderstand that.
disturbed about it, then you would think you want to bring a halt to it. And the halt to it is to set up consulates and expand our embassy capabilities there to handle these cases there.
Well, that's
rather
exactly
than
what we've
have
done.
them subjected to the cruelties of the coyotes, and then once they get here, they don't show up for their court dates.
That is exactly what we did, sir.
You did what?
We set up in-country processing in Guatemala, Honduras,
Then why are these?
and El
Why
Salvador.
are 9,802 showing up at our border?
Well, the number is considerably lower than what it was
That's
last
acceptable.
year.
9,800 is considerably lower. That's good news.
I don't consider that good news.
Well,
I
the way
do
you're
know
portraying
that
it, the way you're portraying it, you act like it is, and it's not. And it's not. And what's happening to these young people, including young boys as well as women, is something that you would want to bring to an abrupt halt. Instead, we see this continued flow and treatment of these young people it is beyond cruelty. And so you're happy with the fact that there has been a reduction and there's only 9,000.
You are mischaracterizing what I've said, sir. May I be allowed to comment?
Sure.
The numbers are considerably lower in every sector, including the state of Arizona. I have said repeatedly in my public statements that I am not declaring mission accomplished. We need to strengthen border security. In reaction to last summer, we did a number of things to reduce the repatriation time, to surge resources, to establish family unit detention capability, much to the objection of a number of advocacy groups. I'm being sued in the city of Washington, D.C. for that, but we did it because I thought it was necessary and appropriate. We've done a number of things to prioritize prosecuting the coyotes. We have prioritized the deportations of the kids, though it is a time-consuming process. So I do not want there to be any misunderstanding that in reaction to last summer, we have done a number of things that I want to maintain on the southern border.
There, of course, has been no reduction in the activities of the coyotes. How many coyotes have you, you say you're, how many coyotes have you captured and prosecuted?
It's in this statement I released last week. The number's right here. I can take the time to look for it, but it's in this statement, sir.
So you've really made a dent in the activities of the coyotes? Of course not. So the fact is that we now have still a larger number, according to these numbers, of unaccompanied children, larger than it's ever been with the exception of last year, and you are acting like that's some kind of achievement. I won't even talk about, because my time is up, about General Kelly's assessment of on our borders, who said, quote, terrorist organizations could seek to leverage those same smuggling routes to move operatives with intent to cause grave harm to our citizens or even bring weapons of mass destruction into the United States. That was General Kelly, the commander of Southern Command. So, Secretary Johnson, I don't see how you could sit there and act like you've achieved something when only 10 to 20% of the young people who have come to this country actually show up to plead their case for to be able to remain in this country. And as far as I know, and information that I have, the activities of the coyotes have certainly not been impacted by any action that you have taken, since they don't. I'm deeply disturbed about the fact that my southern border, my state, is still not secure, that we're still seeing record number, with the exception of 1 year, of unaccompanied children showing up at our borders who are being subjected to unspeakable things on the way up, which doesn't seem to enter into your calculations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator McCain. Senator Ernst.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Secretary Johnson, for being here today. I do appreciate the fact that you are working with your department to streamline it, make it more efficient and more effective for our citizens here. So thank you for doing that and your efforts.